All right, I want to record a quick video on starting a SCL network or program. So we just talked about ladder logic last week, which is our standard programming function for Siemens, where we can drag our contacts down in, name them, address them. But for this video, we just learned the basics of SCL. So I want to show you how to incorporate that into a program. So some things to call out is I still had to make PLC tags. If I come down here to show all tags, you can see I still have my PLC tags. These are just copied over from the last thing. I saved them as a default project, so now every time I can come back in with some basic I/O. So you still have to make those. I would still come in and do these first, just like I promoted for ladder logic. So let's come back to program blocks and come into our main OB1. So two different ways to start an SCL program. You can first incorporate it in a pre-existing program block. So you see right here, I have just a normal OB1 with two networks of ladder. If we would want to add a SCL network to this, we can. We can have ladder, or we can have network 1 be logic, network 2 be SCL. So if we come here and just click on a network, and we come down to insert an SCL network, you can see now we got network 3, and network 3 is in SCL format. So I can now start typing into here. So that's method 1. I am going to delete this for now. Method 2. Method 2 is we can insert an entire program block of SCL. So if I come to add new program block, we have our stack here, right? So we have organizational function, function block, function, data blocks. If I come down here to grab a function, you can see because I tried this before, but this is normally on ladder, right up here in language. So if I click on a function, ladder, and I could hit OK and add a ladder. If you come up here, you now see function block diagram and SCL. I can click on SCL, click OK, and then that will generate me a full program block of function block. One thing to note is once you open this and select your language, I cannot change this. I cannot right click on it and switch programming language. They're all grayed out. If I would want to switch back over, I'd have to make a new block. So that is the two ways to add SCL program to your PLC software. I'm going to delete this one as well, and then we are going to start over and do some SCL programming. All right, let's SCL code. So I inserted a network here with SCL programming language selected. So I just want to show a simple on-off, right? So I push a button, a green light comes on, I let go of that button, the green light goes off. So you can see up here, we have all of our quick instructions, just like ladder. You can also see over here on the side, we have all of our instructions, bit logic instructions. We have program controls. We have moves, math, counters. So here is all of our stack. And remember, just like ladder logic, if I come to bit logic and I'm not 100% sure what if then is, right here's a description that says run conditionally. I can hover over that, and now it gives me a more in-depth view. It also gives me links to go see these conditions in action and how you would use those. So Siemens does a very good job of, hey, what is a case of, right? Gonna hover over that, and then I have a more in-depth description as well as links to more information. So anyway, we're just going to use some simple if statements. So let's come back over here. So just like ladder, I'm going to drag an if statement down. It is going to dump a preloaded if statement in, and all I have to do now is fill the gaps in. So you can see I have a condition here that's not set. So if I double click on this condition, that is going to be my start button. So I'm going to start typing start button. Remember, I have my tags already made, so it just pops up right here for me. I'm going to click that. So if start button, and then so if the start button what? So if start button equals true, and I'm going to start typing true, and it's going to start telling me what I can put there. So then I can select true. If start button equals true, then, so my beginning half of this is already started. So if start button equals true, then I'm going to delete this and retype just because I don't like the highlighted there. I don't really think the highlight part matters. One thing to notice, that if your code is wrong, your code's not going to work. It puts this red like squiggly line underneath, like you spelled something wrong. So that's always one thing to note. You don't want to see that. So let me retype this here. So if start button, it's probably not going to pop up because it was touching there. If start, there we go. If start button equals true, then, so if the start button equals true, then we were going to do something else. I have a statement in here, statement section for if. So if I wanted to type in there, so I can type in here that says start button turns on green light. So then I am going to enter. I do not want to comment, so I'm going to backspace out of the comment. So if start button is true, then what do I want to do then? Then I want to turn on the green light. So if start button is true, then green light equals, and it wants this colon here to turn on that output. So green light equals true. So if start button is true, then the green light is true. And then remember, we want a semicolon at the end for any to end that instruction statement. So then here, end if. So we run this code, and it's going to turn on if it's true, but it will then just stay on because we never told it to turn off, or we never told it what the stop condition was. So that's the second thing we have to put in here. So we want to make a new statement. So outside of that semicolon, and I want to drag down my if again. So we can backspace this condition. So if start button equals false, got some formatting error here. It looks like I accidentally deleted my then. But that is one good thing about the coding thing, is we can just type it back in. So if start button equals false, then I have another comment section. Then green light equals false. I can get rid of this other end if because I only need one end to the program. You can also see I have a error statement here because I have an extra colon in here. So I'll get rid of that. All right. I see I have an if error right here. Let's compile this, and it's probably going to throw me an error because of that. Yep, so impossible instruction. Go to that instruction, it says there. Let's see what I did. So do I have too many of these guys? So I will figure out what it is unhappy about, and then we'll come back to reload this. All right, we're back, and I got it figured out. All I did was delete a end if when I wasn't supposed to. And now looking back at this, you can see everything from the if statement to the end if statement kind of groups itself together. And I can even minimize these instructions. So that is just one section right there. So from the if statement to the end if statement is one instruction, and then we move on to the next instruction. Kind of think of it like ladders of your logic. So we can see here everything is good. I have no red squiggly lines under anything. So now I should be able to compile with everything good and download. It's first download of the day, so it'll probably take just a second to get connected to my PLC. All right, download to my PLC. Load. And we're good with no errors. So let's go online so I can show you some of that monitoring stuff. So now we're online. If we monitor, now you can see here, you can see I have this. You can see our conditions, our results for each one of our logics. So if I expand on this, if my start button is true, this is true. If my start button is false, which see currently it is true, if my start button is false, then this is true. So that is basic SCL code. I hope you can use this to better expand your programming knowledge and insert it into your projects where you think is useful.